Okay, now I'm going to wrap up the Amalekites in this video, and then we'll move on to the Midianites, or Numbers 31. I basically want to paint a scenario here using scripture and the commentaries, the many commentaries I've read on the subject, and I want you to think about this for a second. Pretend like you're an Israelite farmer. You live in the ancient Near East thousands of years ago. You and your wife are trying to make it on a small farm with just your children and a few extended family members. Because like most Israelites, you're very poor, so you can't afford any hired help or servants of any kind. Like most Israelite farmers, you're a typical impoverished and undernourished young Israelite family who has been able to hide their small crop so far this growing season. Each previous year, the marauding Amalekites, and remember the Amalekites were not Canaanites per se, but they were very much like the Canaanites in the way they conducted warfare and in their religious practices, which included child sacrifice. The marauding Amalekites have burned your small crop and killed the few livestock you use for clothes and cheese. And they've killed and kidnapped some of your neighbors' children and sold them into cultic prostitution, sold them into foreign versions of slavery, which is, by the way, outlawed in Israel. Of course, the nonconsensual ownership type, no doubt about it. They've been used for, those children are being used for real sex toys, especially by the men, and some of these children may have even been sacrificed to some of these foreign gods that the Canaanites and Amalekites worship. Your family's eaten what little the wild land could provide. You sleep under a rock in fear of detection, and you and your father, your parents live with you. Take turns at night watching for predatory animals, slave trading bands, and the Amalekites and their allies. Harvest is almost here, and you have actually gathered a few items already and consumed them hungrily. You, your wife, your children suffer from various forms of malnutrition and exposure, and your youngest, the 3-year-old little girl, cannot get up due to some unknown sickness. But hope has arisen for the first time in years, and you and your wife and your parents who are living with you are eager to feed your young children the food they desperately need. As you're gathering the first pick, with ears always alert, you hear the familiar sounds of hooves. And though you run in complete fear, you're overtaken by the Amalekite raiding party. You watch as your crop is burned to ashes. The raiders only laugh at the sight. They don't take care of any of the food at all. And few livestock you have is slaughtered, and one Amalekite takes, pleasure in some of the animals. Anyway, along with the feeble hope so everything is lost, along with your feeble hope that grew there too. But you have a bigger problem now, because your family did not reach the hiding place in time. The raiders seize up the family, kill your parents before your eyes, rape your wife. Recognize that your young will fetch a pretty shekel in the slave markets of Damascus, where they will end up in prostitution or maybe in sacrifice to some Canaanite god. Your wife, after the raiders have had their way with her, and 2 of your healthier children, who are also molested, are stripped and tied with their other captured Israelites to be marched off to be sold to different owners in different parts of the world. One small child already captured from another raid is simply cut down screaming in terror, with the sword in the eyes of both parents. Your youngest, who is sick, begins to cry in fear from her cot under the rock, alerting the Amalekites for the first time of her presence. You try vainly to defend your family as you plead for mercy, but you are rewarded only with your anti-Israelite taunts of hate and slash of the sword. The last thing you hear are the Amalekite words of the leader to leave your sick daughter as food for the wolves, rats, and ants, since she wouldn't be of any value in the slave trade. Now, I've based the story on scripture and the commentaries about the subject. Now, someone please tell me again about the afflictions of the Amalekites or the Canaanites. Tell me how how they're so innocent